Hey, what's going on? We're exploring pyramids and electromagnetic energy and granite stones and levitation and monks today. So we're doing a lot. Okay, so here is the room mode calculator, and what this will do is if you enter a specific size of a rectangular object, you can do non-rectangular objects, but in this case we're using a rectangular object. You can enter in your dimensions with a room, or just you're studying maybe a piece of granite that is a square, just like in the ancient pyramids, and this will pop out all the resonant frequencies of that room mode. And down here you can see what that looks like. So as I scroll across the tones, it'll produce standing wave patterns in different areas. Now this is what I believe the monks did. The monks what the monks did is the monks and the people, I guess, close with them or whatnot, what they would do is they would chant and play trumpets and drums in front of a stone. And you can hear this, see this 90 degrees here, that the last drum is 90 degrees from this drum, offset. So this brings me to the main conclusion that I'm drawing, is that this is acoustic spin. So in other words, if you want two wave velocities, velocity x and velocity y, if they approach an object at 90 degrees from each other, and they're out of phase 90 degrees, or 270 degrees, then if it's 90 degrees, it'll produce counterclockwise motion, and if it's 270 degrees, it'll produce clockwise motion. And when you get the counterclockwise and the clockwise motions to fight each other out to a draw, according to Tom Bearden, that's where gravity stops. And according to the equation acceleration equals omega prime, it's the same thing, is that when you reduce omega to zero, then acceleration goes to zero, and thus gravity cannot take a hold of the object anymore. But I thought this was an interesting parallel between this diagram here, showing acoustic spin, and this diagram here, because it's 90 degrees. Here's the cliff, the top of the cliff, here's the stone, and the distance from the cliff to the stone probably mattered, and the distance from the archway probably mattered. In other words, this front section was probably playing 12 tones or 12 notes or something like that, maybe 6 tones, it doesn't matter, but just a multiple of tones of the resonant frequency of this block. And then behind it would be the choir, and they would be out of phase with the trumpets because they're starting from a certain distance back from it. And let's say this back section is 270 degrees out of phase. So in other words, you have both counterclockwise and clockwise rotations inside this granite. And what happens is the granite will speed up to 13,421 miles an hour. So that's how fast sound travels in granite, because granite roughly travels at 6,000 meters per second. Sound in granite. So that's a pretty fast tornado, and that will levitate any object. So again, the first thing is to do, find all the modes, find all the resonant modes of this object. Then remember your acoustic spin. Here's another diagram showing acoustic spin in tornadoes. Then gather up your trumpets, drums, choir, and chant away a pulsed sound that will, a chant, it could be any chant, but it's as long as it's in tune with the resonance of the stone. And then take that and just keep on playing. It might take a couple minutes for the field to align itself with the earth, or just to build up its standing waves inside this granite block. Okay, that is all I had to say. So thank you very much for listening. Thank you.